late start today.
That's all right. I'm telling you, everybody was slow today. Everybody.
Oh.
No, and it gets so frustrating. What time are you going to Atlanta?
We're leaving tomorrow at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh God.
Is that right? Yeah.
Wow.
Because we have to be up there for a photo shoot at 5.
Are you driving or flying?
We're driving.
Oh God.
Well, because we are on the green.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our holiday episode.
Year, I think. Well, yeah.
The schedule gets. Yeah, I can. You're away next
Thursday.
I can still do it with John. We can do it.
I don't think we're open on Thursday. Actually, I think it's today. I don't know. I can't keep track of the schedule.
Friday we're closed, but yeah, next Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday.
The hours are posted on the
website.
I know, but what a crazy season.
Yeah.
But this will be a fun show.
Crazy year.
Well, it has been a crazy year, a great year. And Don, I got to give you great props for the promo behind us. And I really like the one you put together because it really does highlight.
It highlights the guests of the year. It was awesome in the episode.
You know what? It was an interesting year, and it's amazing how fast each year goes.
It flies by.
It does. It does. So we will.
And I didn't have to look too hard to find smiling faces on every single.
Yeah, well, we do.
You know, like it's a special show and people do tune in and you know, I have friends, like I said, all over the country and even Canada that listen to it, even Lithuania. So
for sure,
everywhere.
And let's start there. You know, we had a visit from, you know, President Zelensky this week. Disappointing in so many ways. And listen, let's start nationally. I mean, the fact that they're doing this impeachment inquiry, okay, on President Biden is so interesting to me because what the history shows, it's going to help him. People are going to look and say, "What is wrong with you people?" Okay, and it's so partisan, it's so blatant, it's so it is childish. Okay, well, but we have big issues. We had the funding for Ukraine, of course, which is drastically needed. I've heard some amazing stats, like 85% of the Russian military has basically been destroyed. Yeah, they have. Frontline soldiers destroyed. I mean, seriously. So if you look at what's going on, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. But still, when you look at who's doing the fighting over there, that these wussies, and I'll call them that, sitting in Congress. Yeah, okay,
I want them to go out. I want them to go to Ukraine and fight for a day. Like they would crap themselves. And honestly, what's mind-boggling to me is they really truly don't see that Ukraine is truly defending democracy. And
well, they are.
They are, and it's like if you don't see the writing on the wall of that, then you're pretty stupid.
But the interesting thing is now that there is talk of the border deal that everybody understands needs to happen.
It does.
We need a tightening of the border. Yeah, the $3 billion in new agents on the border sounds like a pretty good start to me.
It does.
So you can't hold up these critical issues. So that's nationally.
And that's just, and it's foolish. And then
we can talk state.
Let's go local for
a minute. It's like a train wreck the other night.
It is still a train wreck.
You know, it's funny when you watch Facebook Live, you can see the eyes that are on and how many people are watching.
Oh, yeah. It was funny because YouTube.
What we're talking about is the Sarasota School Board meeting.
The Sieglers and
everything is out these days. Interesting. If you want to watch things, you can find them, you know, typically, especially in Florida, because it is sunshine, right? So pretty much everything is out, you know.
And Bridget Ziegler is so arrogant, and she still refuses to.
Well, it was a really interesting meeting, you know, and what I was struck by were the students that spoke. Some still in the school system. It's interesting. They have a student that sits on the school board, and they didn't allow the student representative to be in on that meeting,
which is insanity. So
points out, what are you hiding? And if you have to hide something, I guarantee if it was a teacher, if it was
they would have been fired. Bridget Ziegler, if
it was a teacher, if it was a principal, if it was a custodian,
anybody, Bridget would have taken them down. It's Bridget, and she did not want to go down.
I don't understand
arrogance. It's arrogance and ignorance, and it's
and I guarantee you, if it was a Democratic candidate, they're gone. They're gone.
She allowed Tom Edwards to be attacked
by some of those trolls that were at the school board meeting.
They are trolls. You need to watch it. Jerry Springer, for real.
What you have are I call it acute and chronic. You have the acute people are there because of the blatant this time, got to be there, can't let it go by, got to speak at the meeting. And they were some people that had never spoken at a
Oh,
meeting.
no, there were a lot that never.
There
spoke.
were
some that I know that,
I got others that are the chronic attendees
Yeah.
of the meetings, some of which completely
Are
ignored the
loony.
meeting and talked about
Nothing.
volunteering or something.
Volunteerism.
I don't know.
Somebody talked about financial responsibilities.
But to me, it's just such
keeping
an
that-
interesting slice of where we're at now from
a lot
Trump,
of Bible
from
quoting
Trump all the
people.
way down. But we've had so much talk recently, and it's going to come up in my person of the year. Because what I did, Ruta, is I broke them down into categories. No, I'm written down. They're my brain.
Okay.
My categories are written down, so maybe
Okay.
you'll slot them in. But I have national, state, local,
Okay, good.
advocate, doctor,
Oh, wow.
and then I have a special category. And let's talk to this because I mean it. I want to give a special shout out to our journalists. And I mean it. And that's Eric Sarkisian and Derek Ham and all the others
Everybody,
out
all the
there
journalists that
who are,
always
well,
will
I
be-
speak to personal friends and contacts that I know cover the cannabis space. But every journalist out there right now needs to understand we need you out there delivering the best truth that you can. And those of us that are living on planet A, okay, we appreciate it.
We do.
And listen, that's what bugged me about, well, many things bugged me about the school board meeting.
Yeah.
But one of the things that bugs me was the blaming of the press.
Yes.
Okay, the blaming of the press.
Bridget Ziegler herself admitted to having a threesome, and they're saying it was the
The
press's
press.
fault.
The press's
What?
fault. The press's
Like,
fault.
the press's fault for what? For the fact that this is what she did and she admitted she did it? Like, hello, it doesn't make sense. It's absolutely
And I
insanity.
continue to maintain, that
Yes.
there are just certain lines that you just have to step back from. And people can do what they want within their own personal
Absolutely.
lifestyle.
Nobody was
But
questioning
sometimes
that.
you get caught. And getting caught has implications. And if you say that your motto is never to apologize,
Yeah, that's
okay,
Christians.
shows weakness.
Speaking of
I
that,
wasn't raised that way.
No,
I
neither
don't
was
think
I.
anybody wants to raise their
Nobody,
kids
I mean,
that way.
Well, obviously somebody has.
I don't know, I don't get it.
Ethics and those.
But they're
types
out
of
with that as
lifestyles.
a public statement.
They are. That
Of how their
apologize.
mantra at their
But they're
leadership
taking-
institutes.
But they're taking that from Trump. So that's where Chris Ziegler got it. He took it from a Trump handbook, and they're backing down from the Trump handbook. And the thing is, like, now Vern Buchanan, shout out to you. You did call out for Christian to just step away and go away. He literally said, go
He
away.
did. Yeah.
Literally.
No, it's gonna be
So
interesting. So
go
they have their
away,
leadership
Ziegler, go
meeting
away.
coming up on Sunday, I guess. The
Special
Republican
meeting.
special
It's the
meeting.
Special meeting about Chris, and he will be removed. There's no question he's going down. And the full, like, save face. Like,
I don't.
even
Yeah,
Bridget, how would you
I
sit
know.
there and
I don't know.
you're okay with people calling you out for what you are, and you're listening in it over and over again, and these people are telling you the truth to your face, and you're sitting there like all smug, like an idiot.
But we spoke to it last
Awful. I
week.
would have hit her under a rock.
We
Sorry.
spoke. No, no. No, we spoke to it last week when we spoke to the concept of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
That leading up to that, okay, you're leading such a flawed life within your own self. And
That
to me,
philosopher-
there's a
there was a
projection.
philosopher
There
that
was.
did it
There were some
really,
great
really
speakers
good.
in the
There
board
were
meeting.
some good speakers,
But
he
to
was
me, it's
really
that
good.
projection out. Okay, that means that now you've got to try to put your thumb down on others. I don't get the
that you have
psychiatric.
to go inside.
You
the
do,
head.
you do.
And for Bridget,
But I
think
see
there's
Trump
a lot
that
going
way
on
too
in
because
his-
he's so dishonest.
Well, he also is.
It's
also
been such a
having
bad
mental
moral
issues.
example to this
But
country. I'm
you have-
going down as saying that.
But you have her. Look at, you had those 4 people. 70 spoke against her. You had 4 that spoke for.
Is that what it was?
It was about 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 to 5 that were on her side. 70 they said were pro.
I haven't read the article yet. The Herald Tribune tends to be a day
It's a day
after.
late,
Well, they
yeah.
do because they probably publish about 10.
They do. They
So
do
the
a
meeting
lot.
wasn't even over. I just
No, they were like,
oh my god.
Zach Anderson was there, like,
Yeah.
Chris Anderson. Chris
Yeah.
Anderson, shout out. You gave a really good op-ed yesterday. Good job, dude. So Chris did a really good job. Politico is blasting him.
For a shout out for our journalists,
Jacob Ogles.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great job on
For
covering
sure. And
that.
it's not easy in this day and age. And I'll tell you that's one of the things. So let's get to it.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
All right. All right.
People's of the Year, national.
Wait.
uh,
So
national
you did
political.
national.
Do you have a national political
No.
person?
I just did 3 people.
I got it. That's fine.
Can I
So
go over my 3 or should we do one at a time?
So if you have one that fits into this slot, then bring it up. But I know you'll agree with me for this National Person of the Year.
Okay,
I'll go on a limb. You have one that slots?
They're national, but they're national medical. So my first one was Joe Goldrich.
Well, sure. Joe Goldstrich, of course, you know, and here's his book, Cannabis Cancer Connection. Of course, listen, it's Christmas time too.
Yeah,
great gift ideas.
Great
that was going to be another show.
Yeah.
Or if we have another with us.
Yeah, we can do it.
Well, what is it? 12 days, 11 days to Christmas. Oh, it's the 14th, my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Scott.
Yeah, we can start doing
So yes, Joe Goldstrich, of course, fantastic.
So go ahead for your national.
Dr. My national person of the year, Liz Cheney.
Oh,
and
you went outside the green room.
I did. I went inside the green room. I went inside the green room a little bit because I thought there were certain people right now that we do need to call out. Adam Kinzinger, who we had a chance to see and meet, you know, with a secondary on that. And then statewide, you know, and I don't know, this may fit into one of your categories. No. So I think, you know, Spencer Roach on the statewide.
I stayed within the green room.
I got it, but he does have green room connection because
he wasn't on.
He was, but he helped us with telehealth.
He did.
He's come around from his days of 10% THC capism.
Then I have to go for local. Then
go ahead.
Local, I have to give a shout out to James Buchanan.
Sure,
so,
absolutely.
James is helping us a lot on doing a special project for an exam for the state.
And he was on my list for a special shout out as well.
My local would be James.
For sure.
He's
got it.
Stepped up for us. So.
Point is, you notice, everybody, they're, you know, other side of the aislers, so to speak, and I'm teasing you. But I'm not. What we take such pride in is absolutely, and that's why I do call out Representative Roach, just to the extent of his clarity, also with the whole Christian Ziegler thing. He is clear, and I think he's uniquely on that side of the aisle. I'm one of those that I think you can count on to try to utilize.
You can speak to the guy. I think
more common sense than others.
More common sense. Like I said, James Buchanan too. I have to say, I mean, common sense, very reasonable, easy to talk to. So yeah, that would be my local. But like I said, I tried to stay within the green room parameters.
For sure. Advocate of the year. Do you have one of those?
I do in Jose Belen.
Sure.
I think he is a huge advocate for one of the most needed populations.
Somewhere on the screen back there, I think.
Yeah, he is somewhere there. Probably unblocking.
Yeah. Listen, Jose has been there. He's been there from the get-go.
Yeah, he's a champion. His fights constant from personal to local to national to help the vets. So for me, he's a huge one. How about you?
Yeah, first off, I want to still talk about Jose because listen, he's so significant because to me, he's a veteran who served. He served front lines.
Couple times.
He was a gunner. He was, you know,
he had half his team blown up. I mean, in
for sure.
Eyes, so.
And he's in the mid-range age-wise to a certain extent.
Then
where
he can go
there's older veterans, there's younger veterans. And
he's so passionate about helping. And I think for me, like the art, he was at Art Basel and with the vets, and they were doing a display of their artwork, and he's trying to work through like issues. To me, he's just a hero and a true hero in every sense and a true champion.
Great shout out for sure. And you know, mine, and I'm gonna go posthumously for this one, and I want to call out, you know, Robert Platshorn. Bobby Tuna, who passed this past year. And, you know, it was so interesting because he passed quickly. He had a cancer that metastasized, and you know how that can happen. And, you know, I was able to speak with him, but I regretted not being able to go and visit with him before he passed. But it was just one of the most unique hours of my life, everybody. When I first met Bobby Tuna in Miami at a cannabis conference, he was out smoking a cigarette, and it was on a bench in the morning. And I was going out, not to smoke a cigarette, but just to catch that morning air. Anyway, I sat down next to Bobby on a bench, learned about his 30+ years in the federal prisons, how he survived it. And, you know, listen, it ranged everything from having a small pin joint one a week that somehow he could nurse through that week. Because that would, listen, you can get anything in prison, he told me. Yeah, but he read 7 books a week.
Well, what else are you going to do?
I know. It ended up being helping people on their cases, being kind of an in-house attorney. But he also ran the the kosher kitchen,
Yeah, kosher
which was
kitchen, which is
interesting because
hilarious.
it wasn't just the Jewish,
Yeah,
but also the
Muslims,
Islamic
yeah.
that came in, to that extent. So I want to give a great shout out to Bobby. Unfortunately, there was never really that one event that I was hoping that was going to be had as a memoriam for him. I know way too many months have gone by, but that to me posthumously would be my advocate of the year. There's a lot of others out there too that we've had on the green room, and Jody James is up on there, and
Pete Imhoff, who does a lot of LGBT
absolutely
community in Sarasota
for sure.
County,
Dustin Robinson, I wanted to give a shout out
We have a
to
lot. We do
for
have a
sure.
lot.
Who's Mr. Cannabis Law over in Miami, who's been on and everything. So listen, we have a lot of great people to that extent. Doctor,
For me,
of
I
the
have to
year.
give a big shout out to Ben Kaplan. I read his book.
Here it is. We got that one too.
Another great gift.
That would be the doctor approved cannabis.
And honestly,
handbook.
it is.
We've had unbelievable guests.
Great
this
guests,
year.
and the research and what he's documented for dosing, for everything. Like he did an awesome job, really.
He's always been the best source that we've had for those PubMed articles that he really does try to tie in all throughout the book.
Yeah,
and we speak to this all the time in the cannabis clinic. Listen, everybody, first off, I know that what's going to happen. We're going to go way too fast in the green room, and we're going to get back to Dr. Kaplan in a second. Got to shout out our staff.
Oh, God,
they're the people of the year.
Oh yeah, our staff are by far the people of the year. They deal with every change
They
that's
do.
thrown at them. They deal with. We have a lot of patients that come in with high anxiety, frustrated, angry. They take the brunt of the storm up front.
People say, "Why do you staff the clinic the way you do?" On AC, because that's the only way to run an appropriate clinic.
And they do things appropriately, and we do things to the letter. We follow state guidelines. We don't have that. We know of any complaints to the Department of Health of not going by the book. So
and our doors are always wide open.
Wide open.
It's kind of an interesting concept, and we've just kind of briefly yik-yacked about it. But I wouldn't mind an inspection every couple of years, like hospitals.
I think we
have
should
to go
do
through
JCO. I think we should do
I mean, there'd be many that would probably slip my throat over it, but we surely.
I think if you have nothing to fear and you're a quality.
So my staff's are great. So we've had some unbelievable new patients. We always get new patients that fascinate us.
And also so appreciative of our staff. I mean, yesterday too, was odd. We're getting phone call after phone call from new patients calling us after their visit and being like, "Oh my God, this visit was amazing. Your office is amazing." Yesterday, like we got calls and we were like, and they were actually naming people in our staff.
Because you guys give people their lives back.
Yeah, that's what somebody said.
Well, you know what? And I want to get back to Dr. Kaplan's book to that extent, because what I believe is what's in this book, and others.
John, our producer.
Yeah, for sure.
He does our great posters and
absolutely. Like I said, this one was the best of all.
Does our show.
But my firm belief is this, because we see it every day. And I tell everybody that I firmly believe that the research when it comes to cannabis, they're going to have to catch up to what we already know that we're doing out there.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always, and see, that's why I love these guys that write the books, because I'm going to be 68 in May, Can't get through a green room without. No, here's the point. I'm not tenacious enough to sit down and do what these guys have done. And no, it is. And that's why I give them all the credit in the world and all the props and all the PR in the world, because they deserve it. But what I know is this. Sometimes I kind of come upon thoughts that I know become true out. I knew early on that cannabis was coming in through the back door of medicine. It wasn't a compound that was created in the lab, tested on people for safety and effectiveness and this and that before it got out onto the market. Some of those drugs get pulled back because they ultimately are dangerous. We all know that. But cannabis came in.
We need to talk about what was that with a K? That drug that's
ketamine?
No. Kratom.
Kratom. The whole Kratom story. We don't get back to it.
We have to get back to that.
But cannabis came in through after eons of use. So it's coming in after already having been utilized for various purposes. So the safety profiles were very well known. Kratom, or Kratom, however you want to look at it, but no, the point is, listen, there was I didn't read the second day story of the Tampa Bay Times. I know, but the first day was shocking.
It was shocking.
The amount of deaths.
Kratom, I don't know how you pronounce it.
So the people that use Kratom, and a lot of people use it for various reasons, and it's been used in any number of societies in a weaker form, in tea form, and this and that.
But it's sold everywhere with
it is. It actually affects the mu, getting into the science. It affects the mu receptors in the brain, to the extent of very similar to the opiates, right?
Yeah,
And
very
they will
similar to
suppress,
opiate.
and that's why they work for some people that try to use them in their opiate withdrawal program and this and that. So there's kind of a different subset of people that
But they
use
also have
kratom.
awful side effects
Unbelievable.
with opioids
and
death.
and many
It causes
deaths,
a
and
lot
it
of
was
death.
scary.
It was very,
So it'll
very
be interesting to
frightening.
see as which leads to everything that we're up to, going into our legislative session of safety and education and regulation and labeling and testing,
100%.
Listen, Doctor of the Year, and I got one too. Now I want to go Peter Grinspoon, okay,
yeah,
who wrote the book, of
Grinspoon's
course, Seeing Through the Smoke.
Yeah.
Once again, another, but Peter, see, as opposed to Dr. Kaplan's book, which is awesome, and Joe's book also. And listen, when I have new cancer patients these days, I bring the book in, I show them the book, they take a picture of it. If they want to order it off of Amazon, any of these books, everybody,
very good tools for patients to have.
They are, because they're well written.
Yeah.
Peter's book, on the other hand, has actually gotten a lot of national traction because his dad, of course, Lester Grinspoon, wrote Marijuana Reconsidered back in the 70s. Yeah. So, Peter's always had that. And plus he's Harvard.
He's Harvard, yeah. And he's written a lot of articles.
He's written a lot of articles. He's written other books. He also has a history of addiction himself to opiates, which he admits to and actually utilizes in his practice to counsel his patients. But, so I think Peter's national impact right now is a little bit different than the others. And believe me when I tell you, it's not easy. And, Peter had unfortunately an auto accident, broke his leg, had to go through some recent issues too. So I want to give him a great shout out. And I want to give a shout out to one other who actually is right over my other shoulder, is Dr. Melanie Bone, who has done some awesome work. And, with her work with the elderly, and, I was honored to have written the article with her, to that extent. But Melanie also is going through a couple health issues, and she's open about it. So I don't think she'll mind mentioning on the green room. I want to give her the biggest shout out as we go into the new year. She was having a neck procedure done, and she had a spinal stroke, actually, which left her with motor function down below, but not sensory function, including kind of knowing if your feet are going up or down or this or that. So listen, she's it was in our doctor group. Absolutely. She was in our doctor group on Wednesday and was looking well and has great spirit. So I want to give a special shout out to Melanie. So, to me, I think my all in all person of the year in cannabis space, I'm going to go back to Peter, because listen, we have this whole national debate right now going on. We don't know where we're going. I think the only thing that we know for sure, we got a few moments left in the green room. Let's talk future.
Oh yeah, let's talk.
Absolutely. So what's going to talk future is interesting, because we literally know the only thing that we know for sure is that change will occur.
Of course,
no doubt. Yeah. How fast that change is going to occur, or how at a dinosaur rate here in Florida it's going to occur, will be interesting.
Even federally, it's still at a
nationally, people are freaking out right now stock wise, because we've gone through another year without getting safe banking solved. D, which we want, or which is more probable, into Schedule 3. However it happens, something's going to happen.
But we also have a presidential race coming up, so
we do.
Talking the votes on
absolutely
a lot. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It is, and I say that about Florida coming in March. In the more near future will be the announcement of what the Supreme Court of Florida is going to do with the Smart and Safe Florida campaign. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes down.
Be interesting to see if some legislation passes to have a mandatory exam for MMTC workers and physicians in the state under cannabis. That should be an interesting.
Absolutely. And if, for sure, 1,000%. And once again, big shout out to Representative Buchanan, on that.
Thank you.
But also, is there going to be attention about the kratom? Believe me, when you have headlines
and Delta 8 and all the other products that are all the hemp products that are still heavily unregulated, and which are still scary to me. So there's a lot to happen in this coming year.
It is, and it's so interesting to me because the DOH is bringing in a lot more money right now because of the $1.3 million per MMTC re-up. They still get the $75 per. But interesting, that whole hemp scene is actually more under the Department of Agriculture purvey.
Well, because
so one would think that money that was coming in, and I still continue to take offense at the fact that there's all these unregulated products with no milligram cap in any way,
Not
shape, or
tested,
form, not
nothing.
right.
It's just nothing. It's
Whereas
very-
our patients still face, caps and limits, and they do well with it,
They do well.
but there's a process that's such a hassle.
And I hope
you
this
know.
year, because I think the Department of Health, and I hope the OMMU, the Office of Medical Marijuana, this year starts going after the outliers in cannabis as well, to make it tighten up the medical. I know, there's talk of rec, so what's the difference? There is a difference, and there's a big one. And when you look nationally at the programs that have medical and full recreational, the medical programs still come through very strongly within those states, and they are still regulated, and the patients will never go away. You will always have medical marijuana patients.
And they deserve that
they deserve the
quality
They do.
of
They really do.
plant-based medicinal products. That's the
100%.
importance of these books, more research.
More research, yeah.
As I speak to the future, that's what I tell patients. Our goal here in the clinic will always be to advocate for the best of the quality of the medical cannabis that we can make sure that we have. And that's basically more research, more labeling, more testing, more listing of all the terpenes and all the minor cannabinoids and all that type of stuff. Also, making sure that we continue with the creation of those duality products of high quality CBD and other cannabinoids with THC at whatever level that you want it. That we have the patches, that we have the creams.
Yeah, there's still a lot.
Suppositories for those politicians we may not like, as I like to joke. But no, my point is, it is the routes. No, listen, it is the route. Listen, prostate cancer, ulcerative colitis, okay, severe Crohn's disease. It is the route of administration, and
it's this people with that thing.
But it's the fascination of the patches and the creams and other things,
the day before, I had a friend that came in, and he's very new to cannabis, and he's like, he doesn't want to smoke anything or inhale anything. He's an athlete, and he's like, I don't want that. But he's fascinated with the edibles and the gummies and things like that. And he's like, hey, because after a certain age, you start getting aches and pains, you can't sleep. And even for athletes, they want something something that's natural. And I think that was the draw for my friend. He was like, I want something holistic. I don't want something in a pill, that's pharmaceutically derived. And it was a great alternative for him. So he's brand new to the program, and very, very happy about what he got for education. He was like, wow, he goes, your staff is really good. So it was a nice compliment from a personal friend. So there's so much coming down the pike.
As we move into the new year, I'll be honest with you, I just so look forward to meeting each new patient that we meet, continuing to take great care with my staff of the patients that we have. And you know what, listen, I think that's what it's all about. I hope every doctor also takes that mission within themselves, to look at cannabis medicine.
No, and I think that's the future for all physicians to start looking at that. And I hope this year, I hope that starts opening up. We start opening that door into the continuation.
Glass half full,
I hope
but still lots to do.
Oh, tons to do, tons and tons to do. And again, shout out to our staff for being exhausted and working hard and going.
And our spouses and partners and everybody else that puts up with us.
Puts up with everything, always.
But it is another year gone by, it's just incredible.
It's amazing how quickly it goes by, and just a lot.
I can't wait to see who's on next year's board.
I know,
To that extent.
Such great guests, and it's always amazing.
And who knows what the news will bring? That's the one thing for sure. And to that extent.
We have a big year coming up with the presidential elections coming. I mean, we have a lot coming up this year in 2024. So it's going to be a big year, a lot of political stuff, a lot of craziness will be going on.
Maybe the Browns will even go to the Super Bowl this year.
And for Sarasota County, we vote for school board.
For laughing, Donna.
School board votes in August.
Listen, let's talk about voting in general, everybody. I mean, let's talk about that, Ruta, as we wrap it up, because I think one thing that we need to know as we go into 24 is that the election will not be the same, right? People better make sure that they're able to get their mail-in ballots and all that, right? I mean, I know there's been some timing on that already. I think we were supposed to send something in or this or that, if you did or if you didn't.
Don't
Can you stop it? Can you stop it? Board of Elections,
you can
and see what your status is.
You can call them. You can stop in. They'll let you.
Just don't wait, because I guarantee you there will be impediments to vote.
And
That's one thing we know.
And
It's
also, I have to
unbelievable.
give a big shout out to Ron Turner. He's Sarasota County Supervisor Elections, now Florida's, because he's so really great at his job. And I was at Tiger Bay a couple months ago and he spoke, and the process that the volunteers go through, tremendous. It's a lot of work to do an election. I mean, it really is. And you know, please vote. It's like, and don't vote against yourself. Vote for a candidate that's pro cannabis. You're voting, a lot of times people just vote party lines. Look at what you're voting for, because that person may not be in your favor.
I think the most
and it's
important
like,
vote
hey,
this
you
year
need
is to vote democracy,
Yeah,
vote
truth
freedom,
and
vote truth.
freedom.
Listen, I hit a villain of the year also, believe it or not.
Oh,
I
did you?
did. I hate in the green room with him. No, it was Ken Paxton. That's the Texas Attorney General who's actually, you know, getting their Supreme Court to, you know, not allow a woman to do
well,
her
my
health
villain of the
care.
year is that new Speaker of the House.
Oh,
My
well,
God,
Mike Howard Johnson.
Mike
Johnson.
Howard Johnson.
Yeah. No, Mike Johnson is listen.
Wackadoodle of
Yeah,
wackadoodles.
he is. Well, listen,
I'm
we'll have
speaking
some.
to Jesus and he's talking to me right now. So I'm like, most people need a straitjacket for that, you know, but hey.
Somehow it is. Listen, when Matt Gaetz is happy at the results of the speaker election, then I kind of knew we were in trouble at that point.
I do.
But look at all the ammo we have for next year's green. We go forward.
I know, imagine all the quotes.
But I had a villain of the year. I just, you know, listen, women's rights are women's rights, healthcare rights are healthcare rights, you know. And you have to be able to exercise those rights. Human rights are human rights. You have to be able to do that with the best advice of your family, your religious advisor, your doctor, okay? Not the government, okay? Not the government. Get out of it.
Get out of healthcare. They need to get out of
Get out of
healthcare.
healthcare.
They really just need to get out of healthcare.
Listen, everybody, have a great Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you next year in the green room.